The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NFL Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NFL from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NFL Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NFL.
For 3.5 quarters, it looked like the Seahawks were going to leave Glendale with an easy win, but the Cardinals had other plans.
You are Locked On Seahawks, your daily Seattle Seahawks podcast.
This 23-20 victory over the Arizona Cardinals propels the Seahawks into at least a tie for second place in the NFC West, depending on what happens this weekend with the 49ers and the Rams in their respective games. The 49ers win. Obviously, the Seahawks are still in second place. But this puts them at 3-1. They're now 1-1 in the NFC West. The Cardinals dropping to 0-2. And again, this is a game that it felt like should have probably been a little easier for the Seahawks to pull off than getting a game-winning field goal, but that's not how it played out. When you look at the stats, the passing yards, it was a big discrepancy. Rushing yards, the Seahawks had more. The Seahawks had the ball for almost 5 full minutes longer than what the Cardinals did. They also created more turnovers, and what's ironic about this is the one turnover the Seahawks had came off of a turnover. Kobe Bryant intercepting Kyler Murray in the first quarter and then gets hit by his own teammate as he's going to the ground. Tyrese Knight knocks the ball out of his hands. Looked like he was trying to give himself up, but he had not hit the ground yet, did not get touched by a Cardinals player at that point, so they did not overturn the play. So the one turnover that the Seahawks did have in this game, it came after they had created a turnover themselves. So really you could say that this was a 3-turnover game because Tyrese Knight got to fumble on that play with Kobe Bryant. But it felt like it was a game that the Seahawks were in command throughout, even when the Cardinals came back and tied the game. And kudos to Arizona. They did not give up. They had 2 excellent drives in the fourth quarter. The defense made some mistakes that allowed drives to be extended, and Arizona capitalized on it. And Seattle's offense didn't finish drives enough in this game to really put it away. And I think that's the big storyline here. If the Seahawks would have lost this game, then you'd be bemoaning the fact that Kobe Bryant, as I mentioned, interception that he had the ball knocked out of his hands. He was going to the ground by his own teammate. Seahawks don't get any points. In fact, they give up 3 on the next drive. The Cardinals get the field goal to go up 3-0. You have a net -3 in the point differential off turnovers because that directly led to the Cardinals getting that field goal. And then Ernest Jones has interception that was bobbled off Marvin Harrison Jr.'s hands in the second quarter, and he returns it past midfield. Prime opportunity to go get points. And they had 3rd and 3 at the end of a Ken Walker run, and Walker gets penalized for taunting. And so it becomes 3rd and 18. They lose 4 on a screen. The next play, they're knocked out of field goal range. They have to punt. So neither one of those turnovers turned into any points for the Seahawks. In fact, like I said, it directly went to 3 points for the Cardinals after they fumbled the interception that they had from Kobe Bryant. And so they did not capitalize on those opportunities. Julian Love had a gimme interception at the end of the first half that bounced off his chest that he didn't reel in, that would have put the Seahawks immediately in field goal range to add points before half. So they had chances in that first half to blow the game open. In the second half, they had a missed field goal. They had a conservative fourth quarter drive. The end of the drive was conservative where they ran the ball 3 straight plays. They were in 4-minute offense. They didn't move the chains. And then Myers misses a 52-yard field goal or 56-yard field goal. The Seahawks did not help themselves at all in terms of those miscues. They didn't capitalize on what the Cardinals did wrong. And those points ended up almost coming back to cost them. But the end of the day, the real storyline coming out of this game, because the Seahawks found a way to win it, even with those 2 touchdowns the Cardinals scored, the fact the defense had been so dominant all day suddenly was struggling to stop Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison and company. There was still no doubt on the sideline that the Seahawks were going to win this game. And I think a lot of that goes back to Mike McDonald and his mentality, but also the quarterback, Sam Darnold. It doesn't matter if they're up 20. It doesn't matter if they're down 20. It doesn't matter if they're in the middle of a tied game with 28 seconds left on the clock like they had in this game. He is always going to be ready to go out of the field with the same even-keeled demeanor And he doesn't get high, he doesn't get low. He is always in the same spot, and his teammates are following his lead on that front. They always feel like they're going to win the game no matter what happens down the line. They feel like Sam Darnold is going to put them in a position to win the game. And that's ultimately what happened. And I think when you look at that final 28 seconds, Arizona, talk about miscues. Chad Ryland, the new kickoff rules, the ball has to land. It has to hit the ground inside the 20-yard line. It has to hit what's called the landing zone, and his kick came up short. It hit short of that landing zone, which is a penalty. It automatically puts the ball at the 40-yard line. So Seattle, they only really had to drive 25 yards to get into Jason Myers' wheelhouse for a field goal, and they had 28 seconds. No time went off the clock with that penalty. So they had one timeout. They had 28 seconds. That was a critical mistake on special teams. The Seahawks have really benefited from these new kickoff rules and other teams botching those rules the last 3 weeks. But the opportunity for Darnold to go in the field and have that short little distance you had to travel to go get into Jason Myers' field goal range, he comes right out and hits Jackson Smith-Njigba. Perfect inside shoulder throw with the defender covering the outside, hits him on the inside, and Jackson Smith-Njigba manages to get out of bounds so they don't have to burn their timeout. And then they decided to run the football. Charbonnet grinds his way to a nice gain, and they let the clock wind down to a couple seconds before they use their final timeout. They felt at that point, hey, we're not going to get cute. That's how Mike McDonald summed it up after the game. We're not going to get cute. We're going to go get this field goal opportunity. And Jason Myers got redemption after missing that 56-yarder earlier in the quarter, goes out and splits the uprights as time expires. So the Seahawks escape with a critical win. At the end of the day, that's all that matters. They win the football game. Should they have probably won this game a lot easier than what they did? It probably should have been more comfortable than it was. But this is what happens when the Arizona Cardinals and Seattle Seahawks get together. They never have normal football games. There's always going to be chaos when these two teams get together, especially in Arizona. There's just no such thing as a normal game between these teams. You're going to see safeties intercept passes and then fumble with a teammate hitting them. You're going to see chaotic plays where Kyler Murray looks like he has nowhere to go and then suddenly gets a 29-yard run. You're going to see chaotic plays where Marvin Harrison goes from dropping easy passes to making spectacular ones over the top of Devin Witherspoon. I mean, this game had a little bit of everything, just as you would expect between these two teams. And the Seahawks, they had a lot of opportunities to tack on extra points they didn't take advantage of that in the end allowed the Cardinals to be able to claw back in the fourth quarter. And fortunately, Seattle has short-term memory. They forgot about those couple drives, but we're still going to go win this football game. And that's what Sam Darnold did with that throw to Jackson Smith-Njigba, getting them in field goal range, just continues to get the job done in crucial moments for the Seahawks. And he's finding ways to finish games under center. I know he didn't get it done in week one because of the fumble caused by having the ball, his release hand hitting Abraham Lucas as he got pushed back into the backfield. But he has really been so good at getting the Seahawks in positions to win these football games. And that's really the thing. You're seeing a team that believes. They have the culture in place. They believe they are going to win every game. They believe in their quarterback. They believe in their defense. They expect no matter what happens, they're going to find a way to win. And that's what they did on Thursday Night Football.
Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's a 401k or properties or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't even using. Canceling those all can save you money every month. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONNFL.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast.
We're going to have awesome stuff to talk about after having zero awesome stuff to talk about. But now a loss is a loss is a loss, and The Cardinals fall to 2-2 after starting the season 2-0. With that said, this is much more palatable than what we witnessed for the first 3 quarters of this game. Instant reaction show, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for hanging out. Here's the thing. When the Arizona Cardinals started this game on offense, got a couple first downs, like, oh, cool. Oh, nice. Cool. Oh, starting to move a little bit, And then Kyler Murray throws an interception. They get the ball back. They kick a field goal. Marv stops on his route. Overall, what I was thinking during the entirety of the first 3 quarters of this game was, how can the defensive players look at the offensive guys in the locker room and have any respect for them, for the play on the field? Like, it was absolutely brutal. They could get nothing going. Marvin Harrison Jr. looked completely lost. Kyler Murray and Marv were not on the same page. And yet, the defense, with the Herculean effort, without Garrett Williams, without Will Johnson, were able to keep the Seattle Seahawks offense at bay for the most part. They were on the field a lot. They were unable to really get anything going offensively, but they were in the game. It was insane. It was like, okay, here's the thing. If the Cardinals were at a road game, I could use this Lane Kiffin thing. Like, Petson's got to go on the tarmac. Make him fly commercial. Like, what are we doing here? Kyler Murray looked bad. The offense just wasn't working and continued to not work. And I know the defense is good. I know the Seahawks defense is good. The offensive line wasn't great. Like, the troubling part for me, and I will talk about the good because there was some. I'll talk about that in the next 7-minute segment here. Like, the Seahawks defense, I understand, is very good. Okay? I understand that. The Seahawks offense is good, and the defense held them at bay. What the offense did was malpractice in the first 3 quarters. I was ready, just like, it seemed like Marv and Kyler never met. Like, some reps, it's like, oh, cool, pick up football. Oh, I'm Marvin. I'm Kyler. Let's play together. It's like, how is that possible with all the reps that are going on? And the defense held what looked to be a very potent offense, especially the last couple of weeks, at bay. This defense is legit, even without Garrett Williams and Will Johnson. This defense is big boy, big pants defense. So I'll talk about redeeming qualities in the second segment, but it's like, if the offense showed any sort of heartbeat in the first 3 quarters, the Cardinals win this game by 10 points. And it's not like down the stretch, and even the announcer said it, it's not like down the stretch that Seattle was playing prevent defense, so these touchdowns didn't count. This offense looked like what you hoped it would be starting in week 1 in that fourth quarter. Kyler Murray had 2 massive drives. The Cardinals got a stop on defense. It's unbelievable what could happen when the offense does their part and the defense can take advantage of it instead of having to be the stopgap between a bad team and a good team. And that's what we've seen from this defense. The defense is the only reason why the Cardinals were in a score. And then, come on, Chad Ryland kicking it short of the 20, them getting extra yardage, Jackson Smith and Jigma makes a great catch down the sideline, and the Cardinals lose the way the Cardinals lose. Like, I think that it's real, though. This isn't like minor recency bias where it's only been a couple hours, so it's not weeks or months or whatever, which is normally what recency bias is tied to. Like, you've got to feel pretty okay about the offense now, kind of, because of what we saw in the fourth quarter. It's not the same. It's not perfect by any stretch. It's not great. It's barely good. But those 2 drives were big boy drives when you got to have it. Drew Petzing's play calling, especially on that second touchdown with the slip screen in the slot to Greg Dortch. Anybody that's watched Locked On Cardinals for at least the last year knows that that's the play that we saw last year, week 17 against the Rams when they were out of playoff contention. I fell in love with that play right away. It's like, why is that not used when actual football is being played and the Cardinals have the chance to make the playoffs? We saw it in the biggest moment. Cardinals got a huge chunk play. They went down and scored. They went down and scored again. I think that you can pretty quickly remove the Marv ain't it conversation with what we saw down the stretch. I know he's a mystery. But what we saw down the stretch, it wasn't just the touchdown catch. There were a couple other balls that he caught. There were contested footballs against Devon Witherspoon, who was a top 5 pick a couple years ago out of Illinois. The dude is the real deal. He's their best corner. And Marv took care of business. So hopefully that will be enough for him to just kind of pivot away from whatever was going on between his ears. With all of that said, the Cardinals are still 2-2. If they didn't take the first 3 quarters off offensively, irrespective of how good the Seahawks defense is, we're talking at the Cardinals at 3-1 with a good chance to go to 4-1, hosting Tennessee next week.
The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for the weekend with this can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits. However, I like to bet in the moment. Player props, same-game parlays, or even jumping in live as the action unfolds. It's quick, it's easy, and it's the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet.
It's a week 4 showdown. We didn't exactly anticipate. The Chiefs got to get this win. Matchups are made to be beaten, won, whatever side you end up on. Mostly it's physical. It's exploiting your skill set. I will tell you that the most important matchup the Chiefs must win this week is not going to happen on the field. They have to roll in to that stadium ready to play. They have to not look for juice no more. They got to bring it with them. They got to not give a whip about what they're wearing to the game instead of what they're doing in the game. And I'm talking to you, Travis Kelce. I don't care what you wear to get to the stadium. You have to come ready to play. No more bitching and complaining on the sidelines. No more confronting Andy Reid. You guys have to bring your A game against this team because you got to leave no doubt that despite a slow start that you are still championship capable team, and you got to take it to the Ravens with all the juice that you have.
Absolutely. They absolutely have to get off to a fast start in this game. They have to take it to the Ravens. They have to press in this game. And I hate saying it that way, but the reality is you're 1-2. You're in a situation where you are going to be going up against the Jags next week, which I feel okay about. But then you have another tough test in Detroit, who just beat this Ravens team that we're playing right now. You have a tough schedule. You can't get to a point where you're 1-3. This is a team that needs to go out and perform, show what they are capable of. And while you're in a situation where you're still going to be without Rashee Rice, it looks like Xavier Worthy as of right now is going to be back. That's important. You have to show that you have the ability to adapt, and you have to be able to take advantage of whatever the defense is going to give you. So for me, when I start looking at these matchups, it's a question of the Ravens have always been a team that could get after Kansas City. That isn't the case this year. And when you start looking at the defensive tackles that they're going to be missing in this game, it almost looks like this is a situation where Kansas City should be able to run the ball and run it really well to the point where they should be able to run for over 100 yards and maybe 150 yards. I mean, this offense should be able to do that against this defense. They've been struggling against the run, and they're still out some of their key players on the defensive line. Will that happen is going to be the big question. I don't know that it will, because Kansas City hasn't shown that they have the desire to continuously run the ball. But to me, that's a huge matchup in this game is the Chiefs offensive line dominating the Ravens defensive line, especially in the running game, because they need the running game to get going in this one to be able to control the ball and keep Derrick Henry off the field.
Yeah, I want to see Carson Steele elevated. I want him to take it all the way to him and run down their throats. If you're weak up the middle, then attack up the middle. Be done with it. Go double team Roquan, take him out, like the whole 9 yards. I agree with you completely. On the other side, I need a couple of things to happen. I don't know if I'm going to get to all of them, so I'm going to throw them all in one. A, I need Leo Chanel to become a Henry Hunter. He's got to go track him down and hit him. He can't get stiff-armed. He can't get run over. He's got to deliver the blows. Henry's been way more susceptible to fumbling this year, and I think Leo Chanel is the guy to knock it out. So that's part A. Part B is Chamari Connor and Jaden Hicks. You have to win your battle with Lamar Jackson in both ways. That means if he's scrambling, you have to come downhill like a bat out of hell and go get him. And if he's not, you have to take away the tight ends because both of them are going to hurt you. Andrews had a nice game last week. He was kind of feeling it, obviously likely coming back. Those two safeties, whether they're roaming, playing high, or down in the box, are going to be critical to stopping Lamar one way or the other.
You know, looking at the injury report, you have to wonder with Lamar Jackson probably, at least as it looks right now, missing his left tackle again in Ronnie Stanley. I need to see pass rush from Karlaftis, Dana, Minihue, anybody that's not Chris Jones, because Chris Jones he's been getting pressure. It isn't necessarily where you'd want him to be, but I think that part of that is because he keeps getting double teamed. But you need to get pressure on Lamar Jackson. But the bigger thing, and I said this in the first segment, the bigger thing with Dana coming back, you have to set the edge and you cannot let Lamar bounce it outside. You absolutely have to rush with the thought process of keeping the quarterback hemmed in and collapse the pocket around him versus letting him have any chance at bouncing anything outside. So to me, a huge matchup in this one is the defensive ends against whoever the tackles are. And I'll throw it onto the right side too, because Rosengarten has been playing, but he hasn't been playing very well. So they should be susceptible to pressure, and Kansas City has shown that they have the ability to get after the quarterback a little bit. At least they did against the Giants. We'll see if that continues this week, but it should. We got to hope that it does against the Ravens. Let's put it that way.
I agree with you. I'm looking for Ashton Gillotte to make an impact here because I believe his style of rushing and the fact that he can convert speed to power is something that can help against both the tackles. How they choose to rotate inside with Dana back. We saw a Menahue at the nose last week. We'll see how that rotation comes around, but I need to see more Ashton Gillotte. He needs to be in early. He was in on the second play last week, but I think he's that change of pace rusher against what the Chiefs normally do that might be able to strike that match and get them really going.
Well, it's going to be real interesting to see how Kansas City decides that they want to play defense in this game, because it's a question of pick your poison. Are you going to try to stop Derrick Henry, or are you going to try to stop Lamar Jackson? You have to essentially, you're going to end up having to do both. But how are you going to do that? Who are you going to be focused on, and who are you going to attack with? And some of that is you're going to see just by who they line up with. If Derek Nottie is out there on a regular basis, they're focusing on trying to stop Derrick Henry. And maybe that's the direction they go. I'll be interested to see if they do that, but they don't really have the defensive tackles to be able to rotate through that way. So that's going to be a problem too when you start looking at if Henry gets 30 carries, which only is going to happen if he's running all over the Chiefs. That's a problem.
Yeah. Stop him early, stop Lamar late. That's the way that I see it coming down, but that's the game plan. X factors. Guys that can change the circumstance, things that can change the circumstance of this ball game. I always go first, so let's flip it. What do you got?
My X factor is pretty easy. It's Xavier Worthy, and it's just a question of how much can he do. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. If he can go out there and do, I'm not expecting, and I know he's going to be limited. We've kind of talked about this a little bit. He's going to be limited in the different things he can do. He's going to be limited on where he's going to be able to catch the ball and if he's going to be able to stretch out and all those different things. I get that. But he can still be a threat. And if they can use him to get by the next 3 weeks to get to a point where you get Rashee Rice back, then you're in a situation where this offense, I think, will take off. It's going to suck because you're still never going to have Xavier Worthy, Hollywood Brown, and Rashee Rice healthy all at once. But this offense can take off with those weapons. And then you add a guy in like Jalen Royals, who we haven't even seen yet in a regular season game. We'll see what he's able to do. But to me, when you add a guy like Xavier Worthy, and it's the speed, it's the threat of going deep on a regular basis, it's, you're going to be pulling safeties away from the line of scrimmage, and now you're going to have 3 guys that can do it. That's the biggest key to me, is you not only do you have Hollywood Brown, who has 4.3 speed, you have Xavier Worthy and Tyquan Thornton that both have that same type of speed. You can have all 3 of them on the field at the same time, and those safeties aren't going to have a freaking clue what's coming and how they're going to have to defend something. So to me, I think that my X factor is Xavier Worthy, because I do think that they had a ton of things in this offense for him that they had planned for him in year 2 that they had to go away from. They're still going to probably have to go away from some of it because he just won't be able to do some of it. But he is a big part of what their plans are in this offense.
And it does feel like he's likely to play at this point.
Yep.
There's been no indication otherwise. So I'm with you. And the 3x1 verts plays are back on the board with him there. This will work, and we'll see what happens with Rashee and who's in what spot. But I have a couple of wrinkles that I will talk about when that happens.
Imagine putting Brashard Smith on the field at the same time with those.
Yeah,
two.
Absolutely. As you absolutely should.
That.
That's
right.
one of the wrinkles that I was going to bring up, but we'll get to that when
bad.
Rashee's coming back, folks. Couple of weeks, but we'll get there. On the flip side, it's also about pass catchers for me on the other side. And I don't want to be alarmist, but I've spoken to people in Baltimore that I know and trust that feel like there's an undercurrent there. They're going to try to get the ball to Zay Flowers, as they should. He's made some plays against the Chiefs in particular, and we know that they're going to have to guard him most likely with their best defender in Trent McDuffie. I'm going to say this in a way that hopefully doesn't jinx us, because I do feel like you have to respect Rashad Bateman, but I'm not scared of Rashad Bateman. So
right.
Leave that there. You know who I am scared of? And that is a guy who played with Xavier Worthy for a short time.
Yep.
There is a factor here, as I understand, there's an undercurrent of resentment towards the way last season went for DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm concerned that they practiced against him. Obviously, Williams hasn't, but most of the other secondary has. And if he is out for revenge and Lamar's willing, I think they might try to feed him. And if that is the case, do you have the answer? He's an X factor, and he hasn't done a whole lot this season. He had 164-yard game. Bateman had 163-yard game last week. One of them up and down each week, but the rest of the time, putting up like 13, 15 yards. So it's feast or famine with both of those players. Exactly. And that's where
that's the difference.
That's where we got to watch out. And John Harbaugh is not above helping somebody get a grudge ungrudged. So watch out for D-Hop.
Yeah, and it's crazy to me to hear that there's resentment there, because I don't understand why there would be. He didn't perform. I mean, that's what it really comes down to. How many drop passes did he have? And we're talking about a guy that literally has probably he's probably top 5 in the NFL in the last 20 years with his hands. He's got phenomenal hands. And I don't understand what happened last year in Kansas City, but it didn't work. And it is what it is at this point. Hopefully that doesn't become a big issue for Kansas City. The other X factor for me is going to be Likely. And it's not because knowing that he's coming off an injury and it's a foot injury, so he's going to be dealing with it if he plays. I think he's an X factor mainly because Kansas City, I think, would be okay if it's just the one tight end, if it's just Mark Andrews. But you add in Isaiah Likely for a team that in the past at least has struggled against tight ends. We haven't really seen that this year yet. So going up against 2 that are that good
right.
is a stressor that will be something to watch for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And honestly, on the flip side, the other guy that I want to watch out for is Nate Wiggins. They're going to have to rely on him. Kyle Hamilton's going to match up with Kels. They feel like he can erase Kels because of Kelsey's age and how well he played him last year. They have reason to be confident, but I don't think that it's like a blank for Travis Kelce. Although, Travis, you do have to come prepared. I'm just saying. There is the other factor that outside of that, with Malachi Starks, the rookie, playing above, whether it's single high or split, he hasn't seen Tyquan. I don't believe he got any kind of close look at Xavier. I could be wrong with some of those CFB playoff games that they both went through, but I don't think so. So that speed is something that he's going to have to deal with, and he hasn't had the cleanest start to the season. So they're going to have to give him a little help. So if the last guy standing, and the guy that you only feel out of your secondary that's a weapon, they'll blitz Wiggins. They'll move him around. They'll try to take someone away. As long as you know where he is, I think there is opportunity to be had in that passing game against that secondary, despite Marlon Humphrey's presence, maybe because of it. But you have to know where that is. And if you know where Wiggins is, you can make him a non-factor instead of an X factor.